honest, you guys, I have not been to Starbucks in a couple weeks now, and so it's like, damn, it's crazy. It's just like, and I'm drinking my homemade instant Folgers. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Mhm.
drinking my instant Folgers, no creamer added because I said I wasn't going to go back to the sweetener creamers. I've kind of ditched that as I'm on my weight loss journey. But when you start to pick apart, if you really take your bank statement and sit down with your bank statement, I challenge you all to get your bank statement from last month, sit down with it, highlight, get you different color highlighters. Highlight every time you stop at McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, Starbucks, wherever it is,
Yeah.
and tally up how much money in a month did you spend eating out. You will be blown the fuck away at how much money you spend per month. Then take another highlighter. Highlight every time you went to Walmart or Target, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, all of those places like that. Those trips of thinking, oh, it's just a couple things that add up, right? Go ahead and highlight that. You'll be amazed at, damn, how much money do I actually spend to these corporations that maybe I could have invested in something else? And then go through your bank statement with a different highlighter and sit and go through what are all your subscriptions that are hitting your fucking account every month, from Adobe, from all your fucking Spotify. I don't know if Apple has different ones that you pay for, but all those fucking different apps that you pay for. Go ahead and see
For your birthday? Sure.
how much are you spending per month. And then look at that. When you start to look at that, you're going to be blown away at how much money that you could be investing in yourself, your wealth, your future, and your legacy versus just being a consumer. Because remember, society has pushed us to be consumers. And when you look at your bank statements, you're going to see that, oh, fuck, I'm a huge consumer. Fuck, all I do is consume shit.
Socks.
You know?
On my slides, I grabbed your copy. I know, but it's kind of cold on these hardwood floors. I don't need you to get sick. Can you put on some socks? You can put your slides on too, but find a pair of socks. They don't have to match. Just put them
You know what? Lunch used to be my problem too, because I was someone who didn't make it from home, and then I would always go out to eat. And you think of your lunches, let's say you work 5 days a week. 5 days a week, you're gonna spend $10 to $11 on your lunch, no matter where you go. I don't give a fuck if you go to McDonald's, that shit is gonna be $10 to $11. Even if you go on the dollar menu, you're gonna buy a couple items, you're
on.
gonna spend $7, around there, right? So you're gonna see that that shit adds up by the end of the week. Now, people will constantly say, I don't have money to eat right. I can't eat healthy. But if you add up how much you spend at the drive-through all week long, you actually can't afford to eat healthy.
Yeah.
When you go in there, the biggest trick I'm going to tell you guys about food and why we think that we can't afford to eat out is because most of us were raised in households that did this one major shopping, and you overloaded your fridge with all of these groceries. Then a lot of shit would waste and be put in the trash. And then so now you feel like, oh my god, I don't have enough money. The trick is to start shopping weekly. Shop for what you need, not what you think you need. Don't go to the store and just be picking up shit. Look at, what do you have? Most likely you still have ingredients from the last week, and all you need is a couple items, and you don't need to spend a whole huge shopping. We get into this thing of, I need my fridge to be full and packed, because if it's not, I feel like I don't have no money, or I feel like I'm broke. Let me tell you, having a fridge that doesn't have overloaded food does not mean you're broke. You're being
Mm-hmm.
conscious again of what you're spending. You're being conscious of what you're investing in. You're not letting your food go to waste because you're not overloading your refrigerator. You're not overloading your freezer. So this is the good practices to start to come into, to be like, oh shit. Because once I stopped doing that and went into the weekly, you know how much money I was saving because I still had an onion in there and I didn't need to buy more fucking onions. I didn't buy a whole pack of onions and then most of them fucking start growing roots and shit before I even fucking buy them, or buy a bunch of. So when you actually look at it, you actually can afford to eat healthier. This is where we retrain our minds to understand that and get out of the, I can't, I don't have enough money. Because I guarantee if you sit with your bank statement, you're going to come back on these lives and be, man, Divine, remember when you told me to do this? I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
believe how much I was spending for this. And I'm not saying, like, some people like, yeah, we like candles, and whatever your hobbies are. I'm not saying to drop your hobbies, but what I'm saying is just to get a little bit more smarter with your money and where is your money going? You
Yeah.
know, what are you spending on? What's coming out of your account? And I had to stop a bunch of those subscriptions because I was like, the fuck? This is way too much shit coming out of my damn account every month. Like, what is this? And what is this? I don't even use this no more.
Now, Stephanie, I will say I'm good for that too. I like my deep freezer. It's easy for me to keep that, or not easy, but it's my preference to keep it full, especially when it comes to meat, because meat is like the most expensive thing. And with kids, if I'm broke and all I have to do is grab a thing of rice and grab some vegetables, and throw something together, that's easier than buying the whole meal. But when we're talking about like fruits, vegetables that you have, things that have those expiration dates, if you think about your refrigerator, how many times we buy all that shit and it just rots before we can use it? You
Right,
know?
right. We're wasteful people. We waste a lot of stuff. Only in this past couple years have I been being trying to be a lot more mindful of how and what I do, and especially far as the food take. I will tell you the reason why I don't overload. Now, my daughter kind of buys her shit differently, but I don't like to overload the freezer, the fridge. And it's because of, especially where I live, being the blackouts, the hurricanes, things like that. I've gone to moments of where we've lost that food. We've lost all that food. So all of that money putting in the, of course, depending on where you live, you can kind of work with that. But where I live, all year long when we're having blackouts and storms and stuff like that, I've actually had to throw out food because it's so hot here that it's not going to stay in that freezer. It's not going to last a day. The power goes out and where I'm at, that shit is not going to last a day. So that kind of actually taught me like, damn, at any moment, all this shit is gone. Spend all this fucking money on this meat and it's gone. Instead of me, if I can go weekly and just pick up for the week, then I'm okay. But
Our big
everybody has.
thing is snacks. Because my kids
Mhm.
will run through them fucking snacks and them crackers, and you can buy snacks for the whole month and they'll take that whole little bag of chips, and I don't know where they go. They must go like in a crawl space and eat them or something, but all of a sudden they'll go on there and like it'll be gone.
Right,
So it's like,
right.
okay, I get that too. Like, okay, we're gonna give you snacks by the week. And if you run out of your shit, you just run out of your shit. You shit out of luck
Yeah,
until I go
that's what I
back.
did.
Like,
That's what I did with the boys this summer when they came. I was like, every week I'll go. And if you guys eat it before the end of this week, that's on you. I'm not buying no more snacks. So if by Tuesday you ate the whole fucking bag of chips, that's on you. The rest of the week you have
mhm.
no fucking snacks. But I think that's where also, again, what are we investing in? How are we looking at what we're doing? And I think a lot of us are just used to being wasteful, like
Yeah.
it's nothing. Okay, so I had to throw away some vegetables. And again, if you look at it, you actually can afford to eat healthier. You just choose not to because of the way your mindset or the way that you see it. And so instead of, like I said, instead of overloading, you ever see those memes where it has like somebody with food stamps and like the whole fridge is like full and
Yeah.
stocked and shit loaded, and then it shows someone who maybe is like working and it has like a couple items in there and shit. The difference also is because one, we know what happens with food stamps. It's like, oh, it's free money. I'm just going to go and go
Yeah.
crazy. But when you're really trying to utilize, and I think what they should have done with that is kind of the concept of when you're really trying to look at your money and where it's going and how you're doing it, you're going to be a little bit more conscious of what you're buying and how you're
What you
buying
want.
it.
Yep.
Are you wasting it, and that kind of thing. So if we're talking money and we're changing our mindset, we're changing our habits, because that's the biggest thing, the discipline to change your habit, right? So if I want to become someone who's more wealthy, I want to become someone in wealth. That term wealth is not just rich. It's not, oh, I'm just blowing money, popping bottles, fucking at
Mhm.
the strip club, right? Wealth is no matter what you're doing or where you're at, if you die, that wealth is there and it could go down and it could go, to lines, the wealth behind your name or what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
That is where we have to focus on, not to just be rich, but to be wealthy and
Well,
switch
it's
these habits
true.
into more
Not
positive
everybody
ones.
is going to be rich, right? Let's be honest. Not everybody's going to make 100,000 a year. Not every. But to me, it's like for wealth, I look at it as if something were to happen to my car and I needed an engine or a transmission, would I be able to pay for that
Right.
without feeling like the world is going to end? If I had to
Right.
move, would I be able to pay a damage deposit, get a truck, pay some movers without feeling like the world was going to end? If if I wanted to do something for my kids, am I able to do that without feeling like it's going to be a hassle or I'm going to have to choose between that and a bill? So to me, it's
Right.
also thinking about wealth in a way of, are you going to be comfortable living should there be an emergency that happens? Say you live
Right.
out of town or your mom lives out of town and she gets sick. Are you going to be able to take off of work for a month or two to even fly down there?
Right.
Because I even know sometimes it's hard when we hear something that's happened to our parent or to a family member or somebody important to us, and we can't even afford the plane ticket
Right. It's rough. You know
until
that
payday.
happened.
Like, well, I can't get there until Tuesday, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
so wealth
that
is just
happened with
more than thinking we're all going to be millionaires, because that's not realistic. We're not. We're not all going to be millionaires. We're not all going to be own our own business. But the thing is are we able to be okay? And if something
right.
should happen, would I be able to make it through that without feeling like the world is crumbling at my feet?
Right. That actually happened to me with my mom in 2018, and she had an aortic tear and an aneurysm. And it was scary because she's in North Carolina, I'm here in Florida. And so it was just like, damn, how do I get there and be able to get back and this, that, and the third? And I remember for like at least the first 6 months, it was like trying to get up there at least once a month, trying to get the
Mm-hmm.
money together to where I can afford to go, get a room and stay up there and stuff like that. And so it is one of those things like, are you in those moments where you like you can basically afford the shit that comes, because life has shit, right? Shit happens. And do you have that? That's what we talked about, the savings. Do you have that available, to where, okay, I'm okay. If you
Yeah.
got fired, today, you got 3 months salary in there, that you'll be okay while you're looking for
Mm-hmm.
another job, and you're not stressing about, oh my God, how am I paying rent next month? How am I, you know what I mean? How am I doing this, that, and the third?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things to think about. Um, and that's where we have to kind of change our mindset of how we're doing things. I think we exhaust our resources. And I think if we start looking at our money as a resource instead of it just money,
Yeah.
like this is my resource. And if I exhaust it all the time, well, yeah, yeah, I'm going to make my paycheck, but I'm not making this money
Yeah.
back.
And think of
I'm not.
yourself too, when you hit 50, 60, 70, are you even going to physically be able to do the amount of work you're doing right now to sustain your bills and be comfortable? You
Probably not.
you're probably not going to happen. And if it is, it's just going to be horribly uncomfortable. Do you really want to live like that before you die? Like, let's be honest, we're all going to die sooner or later, especially like when you start to get old. Do you really want to
Right.
spend your last years getting ready to leave this earth, working 8, 10 hours a day, struggling, trying to
And
figure out how you're going to pay bills, hoping Social Security pays you enough?
no, you'll have to have a roommate. In your 70s, you'll have to have a fucking roommate.
My grandma was
Because
like that. She lived on her little Social Security check, her little 981 a month, and it didn't last but a week. And she lived in subsidized housing, so I don't know what she would have did if she had rent. But
right, right.
I couldn't imagine like being like that while you're old.
We had this talk with my mom recently because my mom used to have her place before her heart shit. She was in the hospital like damn near a year. She went into the assisted living for like about almost another year. After that, it was like a year and a half, I think, total of everything. And then she ended up going to, her sister, moving in with her sister. And then like now she's like wanting to live on her own. And I'm like, Mom, things have changed. Things have changed in the past couple years. You're not going to get that little $400 trailer that you used to have. Now everything's skyrocketed. So you literally, either you live in low income, or you live in assisted living, because you're a senior, or you have a roommate. Like that's your options because you have no capital, you have no money, you have
Mhm.
no retirement, you have no nothing. So you basically have your disability, you basically have that. That's all you, that's your options. And it's shitty options, but that's kind of all it is. There's nothing else. And that's the sad part about it, is because when you don't think about what you're doing with your money now, and like I said, when we talk to wealth, what talk about wealth, it's not always about being rich. It's just having the money to do things that you want to do, the things that you need to do without the worry, the stress. That stress turns into illness when you're stressing constantly about where you're going to eat, if you're going to pay your bills, if you're going to pay your rent. That stress weighs on you in so many fucking ways.
Mhm.
But if you were to do things in a different way to where you have that necessary go to, not just, oh, I could go call my mom got me, or I can call this person, they got me. The what ifs if no one got you, you know, you could
Yeah.
actually live less stress. It's less stress if you have a backup plan, right? So that's the thing. It's having that backup plan, and understanding that, think smarter about your money. And this is where, again, you're either going to stay the consumer in your life where you just fuck off your money, or you'll become someone who wants to invest in other things. Even if you think about vacations, one of the things where when I got into my 30s, I started thinking about vacation because my mindset changed, and I wasn't thinking about partying no more. I was like, man, I want to go see some shit. And a lot of people could never go. It was like, I don't have the money. I don't have the money. And it's like, when you gonna have the money? You know, you spend up your
Mhm.
money. You're like, oh, I can't afford to go on vacation. Again, guaranteed, if you look at how much money you spend on all this other shit and you stop spending that money, you'd have
Mhm.
fucking vacation. You'd be able to take that week in Puerto Rico, or that fucking week in, Bali. And people think Bali is so expensive. Bali is cheap as fuck, y'all. You just got to get your passport. It's actually really, really cheap. So a lot of this is not as it's not as expensive as we think to do things. It's just where are we putting our money at the end of the day? And are we investing or are we spending? And so again, for those of you who want, to look into the stock options and things, definitely get in my inbox. I can send you some info about that. But start to think about that. And I'm challenging everyone to print out that damn bank statement. Print it out. Highlighters. Get you a couple different highlighters. Guarantee you're gonna look like, what the fuck? It's a game changer.